not only the training programs, but also the permit to purchase and the database that will be created. What are you guys expecting from this as an association, and how will this impact you and your members?
Well, the impacts, I think, are potentially pretty heavy. Just speaking to the permit to purchase system, the way that is written, where OSP would be the main proponent of the forms and the system, but the local law enforcement have to be the ones that actually do the permitting process. There's so much as far as rulemaking that has to go into OSP even deciding what that looks like. And then it's on each individual law enforcement office or department to decide what they're going to do. And so there's a lot of moving pieces here that honestly are probably going to take a very long time to set up. And that's one of our main concerns. As we see it legally, when this is signed into law, they can no longer sell firearms until you have a permit to purchase, and you can't get a permit to purchase until all of these rules and systems are put in place. Oregon State Police, in their financial input to the measure, stated they don't see permits being offered until 2024. So our concern is this will shutter a lot of local gun shops. It will keep hunter recruitment from happening for the next few years. That's a huge barrier of entry if somebody's interested in hunting and they can't buy an appropriate firearm to do that with. And so we're concerned about it at that level. The searchable database, it's basically a registry of all firearms owners, all legal firearms owners. And it will also record what firearms you purchase. But our big concern about that is privacy, because there's no stipulation in the measure language as to who is going to be controlling that other than OSP, but it doesn't say how easy is there to have access. Can somebody just file a Freedom of Information Act and get everybody's information off of there? So that's a huge concern for us. And one thing from sportsmen's groups that we've tried to put out there to people, and a lot of folks don't know the intricacy of how this works, but we're concerned about wildlife conservation dollars. So there's a fund called the Pittman-Robertson Act, and that is an excise tax on firearms. It's 11% on rifles, ammunition, and archery equipment. Those funds go into a national or a federal trust for wildlife conservation, and then those funds get distributed back to the agencies, so ODFW, for wildlife conservation, hunter education, and shooting range improvements. And it has to be used for those. It has to be earmarked for that. As an example of how much money that generates, in 2021, nationally, the Pittman-Robertson Act generated over $1 billion. 2 years ago, in the last biennium, that's the latest numbers that I have from ODFW, they received $44 million in PR funds back for wildlife conservation. So there's a nexus there that people outside of the sporting community don't always understand, but that's a huge concern for us, that we're going to be negatively impacted in how we can proceed with wildlife conservation because of the decrease of those funds.